The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "A rich man had a steward who was reported to him for squandering his property. He summoned him and said, 'What is this I hear about you? Prepare a full account of your stewardship, because you can no longer be my steward.' The steward said to himself, 'What shall I do now that my master is taking the position of steward away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I know what I shall do so that when I am removed from the stewardship, they may welcome me into their homes.' He called in his master's debtors one by one. To the first he said, 'How much do you owe my master?' He replied, 100 measures of olive oil.' He said to him, 'Here is your promissory note. Sit down quickly and write one for 50. Then to another, the steward, he said, 'And how much do you owe?' He replied, 100 cores of wheat. The steward said to him, 'Here is your promissory note. Write one for 80. And the master commended that dishonest steward for acting prudently. For the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation than with the children of the light. I tell you, make friends for yourselves with dishonest wealth, so that when it fails, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. The person who is trustworthy in small matters is also trustworthy in great ones. And the person who is dishonest in very small matters is also dishonest in great ones. If therefore you are not trustworthy with dishonest wealth, who will trust you with true wealth? If you are not trustworthy with what belongs to another, who will give you what is yours? No servant can serve two masters. He will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Anyone who knows me well and is familiar with my sometimes strange sense of humor will know that if you ask me, "Father, can I get you something?" For instance, the priest that lives with me said this morning, "I'm going to the supermarket. Do you need anything?" Inevitably, my tongue-in-cheek answer is a winning lottery ticket. And I'm not talking about $2 winner, okay? I'm talking about a real winning lottery ticket. Of course, it's a sarcastic answer that's never going to come true, but because nobody will ever get me a winning lottery ticket. If they win, they're going to keep it themselves. But I always wonder, man, if it just had a little bit of money. Did you ever think, if I had a little bit more money, what would I do? Well, my car is not so bad, and the Religious Institute pays for my living, so the house where we live is fine, and I have pretty much everything I need. Why do I want a winning lottery ticket? What is it going to do me any good? All that money, and you're probably in the back of your mind going, well, I could use some of it. I could help people with it. Jesus in the first reading today talk about wealth. And Amos the prophet is a little bit strict with people who happen to have a good amount of wealth or a certain amount of wealth. And he's very strict with them, actually. Especially if they spend it on things that they don't need to be spending it on. In the gospel, instead, Jesus tells us this parable, which is a little bit odd, about the man who's going to lose his job because he wasn't being trustworthy to his boss. And so he called in his boss's debtors and crossed out their part of their debt. And Jesus didn't yell at the man. He didn't say anything bad about it. He said, that was not a bad idea. At least you thought about it rather than sitting around and complaining. So Jesus didn't really talk bad about wealth, per se. He talked about how we use wealth. Talked about being children of the world and children of the light. And we have to be both. We have to be children of the world. We have to belong to this world. We need what this world offers, don't we? We need our jobs. We need food. We need what the world, we need the sun. We need all those things. We need to have money to live and to buy a house and to buy a car. And we need those things. We need to be this world. But we need to look at how we use that money. We do that because we're children of the light. There's that famous phrase that I loved during the baptismal ceremony when the priest or the godparent is holding the candle and says to the parents, your child is a child as a child of the light. May they always walk as a child of the light. May we always walk as children of the light. I remember when I was in Japan, obviously the masses in the church were always in Japanese, but once a month we would have a mass in English for the Filipinos who lived in the area. And there was one Sunday I wasn't celebrating it, one of the other priests was celebrating the mass, and he was not a native English speaker. He was originally from Italy. So he was okay, his English was pretty good, but I don't remember what the gospel was about. But then when he started speaking, when he started giving his homily, instead of using the word health, and he talked about how important your health was and how important it is, most important, et cetera, he used the word wealth. So he was telling these people who in Japan, the Filipinos, they're day laborers, and so they don't have a lot of money, kept telling them how important their wealth was and how important it is for them to have wealth, et cetera, et cetera. And they were all sitting there going, I don't think Father means that. And I'll never forget that because they were just so confused. Wealth, as Jesus tells us, in and of itself is not necessarily bad. But you can't use wealth for everything to make you happy. You can't buy good health with wealth. You can go to the best doctors, but your health is what it is. You can't necessarily buy love with wealth. We were talking the other day, there's a young girl that works in our office in her mid to late 20s, and we were saying, do you have we were kind of joking with her, do you have anybody serious? Maybe it's time to start thinking about it. I said, even though you're working with us, and so around us, you're not going to find any young men that are available. I said, you could consider so-and-so's son. He's not married yet. And one of the other persons said, yeah, there's money in that family. And she just kind of looked and said, but you can't buy love. Wealth doesn't get us that. So Jesus warns us, you can't be both a servant to God and a servant to mammon. Mammon means wealth in a bad way, in a way of just using it for your needs and yourself. You'll be trustworthy. If you're trustworthy with little things, Jesus says, you'll be trustworthy with big things. Think about even the little things, the little bit of wealth, a little bit of money that you may have. And if you're trustworthy and if you use it in the right way, certainly God will bless you with more. Maybe not more money, maybe more things that will make you happy. More advantages, more grace, more blessings in your life. But you can't serve both God and mammon.